Alright, you remember the spall that I had of Keokuk that I said I was going to reduce with the new billet technique? Well, I actually did film a video on that, but I deleted it because I didn't like the way I was explaining. And this is the result. I did break it. It was my fault, right? Just a napping error, too much force. And the piece I had remaining I did reduce down with the billet through various challenges because of the material and also because of the inexperience with the technique. Keokuk will sometimes have little flaws in it, which is fine for larger bifaces and larger points. When you start getting down to smaller points utilizing flakes, these defects can be an issue. Alright, so I didn't like the way I was explaining it because I was focusing on the faults or the things I did not like about how I was proceeding with the technique. This time I think I'm going to go with a different approach. When you do this technique with the swinging billet, when it works extremely well. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. Problem is, when it doesn't work, the results are catastrophic. Okay, so it's in kind of an extreme technique. Now, I'm going to nap something else, and I had a request to nap something less forgiving, although maybe they meant more forgiving, I don't know. But anyway, this is a piece of raw, high-grade Chert from Texas. This is the only high-grade raw Chert in large pieces that I can get. Okay, so I'm going to try to reduce this down with the billet technique. I'm going to do some hammerstone work, and this is all going to be natural tools again. Let's see, I was going to make another announcement. Let's see. Dave Davis, you said you provided me, you would provide me with antler in large sizes, and I've seen those messages you sent before, and you requested that I PM you through YouTube. YouTube has not had that function in about 3 years now, and when it did, I didn't know how to use it very well. But anyway, this is the private message. Dave Davis, please email me so that I can get your contact information. I cannot PM you first. Okay, and thank you very much for the offer. Alright, now let's move on. And if your name is not the same as your YouTube name, please indicate that in the email. Send the email to jackcrafty2, the number 2, at gmail.com. jackcrafty2@gmail.com. And anybody else who wants to get in contact with me, it's on my YouTube channel. That email address is on my YouTube channel. Alright, and I know there's other guys that have antler too, and that have expressed interest in sending me antler, so I haven't forgot about you guys either. So yeah, let's see, let me just get a measurement on this. The widest point is like 1.25 inches before I sand it down. 1.25 inches. I would like to get, obviously, 1.5 inches or better. This is 1.25 inches as well. Sheds are fine, but the brown antler cut from the skull is better. Okay, and this is mostly bone here, but I'll be sanding this down. As I sand it down, it'll become more and more, or it'll wear down more into the actual antler. More into the antler, which will have a different consistency, so it may affect the way that I nap with it. So just keep that in mind too. This is a shed, right? If you sand it flat into the substance of the actual antler, it's going to be a different consistency than the bone. The bone is a little harder and more brittle. See how it's already breaking? Antler doesn't really break in that way. It mostly crumbles. Okay. I'm doing this first thing in the morning. I usually don't nap first thing, but I need to get started doing it that way, or get into the habit of doing it that way. The good thing is I know if it's going to be a good day if I can actually nap. That means my brain's working. Alright, let's see. Working sufficiently. I don't know about fully. Alright. I did have an abrading stone. There you go. Alright. I'll get back to glass napping in a little bit. Still got plenty of obsidian. I still have plenty of it. Is there evidence that this was done in the past in the archaeological record, that all the delicate areas were removed from these spalls and stuff? As far as I can tell, not much. Not much evidence for this type of preparation. It probably isn't all that necessary, but I like to do it to speed up the process. Yeah, this is high grade. I don't think I heat treated this, but if I did, I apologize. We'll see. If it looks a little bit too glossy for raw, then it might be heat treated. Although I don't know if I don't think I heat treat pieces this big, but I might. Alright, I could have done it. This has been in my stack of future to be napped stones for a long time. Okay. So I've got plenty of room on this particular piece. I have napped, and I do nap with the flat spot on my natural tools. Okay, flat spot of the stone hit against a prepared platform, maybe not isolated intentionally, to remove long thin flakes. My forearm is the billet, and it swings from my elbow. My elbow is on my leg so that I have a consistent swing. So I do use the process to a certain extent, but with my hand close to the tool, I have a lot more accuracy. It's just me, right? So with some guys, it doesn't matter what they use. They'll get the same accuracy whether they swing with it or hold it close. But I have a large deviation in accuracy. Or a large difference in accuracy with the two methods. So I'll always look for a flat spot. I mentioned that before. So I'm familiar with the technique, just not familiar with the swinging billets. And I'll probably do a video describing this with words so you can see what I mean. Now, hammerstone will bounce off. It will not grab the edge as well, so I'm not going to get flakes as thin as I do with something that grabs the edge a little bit better. But it is possible. There are videos where guys are using hammerstones producing very long, thin flakes. And yes, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't think it would work that well, but this is a very strong ridge. I hit right along, the force was right along that ridge. I got to be careful with this material since it's so high grade. I could damage it and overshoot it easily. All right. I don't know what those marks are called, but it shows a lot of force involved when you see those. Hammerstones deliver lots of force. And I'm including this in the video, this hammerstone prep beforehand, just to make the process more complete for you guys. Instead of starting with a biface that I reduced with a hammerstone, I'll just show it. I'm getting rid of thick spots and making a biface with edges that are not thick like this. And I'm gouging out flakes instead of swiping in some cases, just so I can get in to small areas. But this is a large area here, so I can swipe it. It's fairly well isolated, although it is more opportunistic than constructed. But that was a swiping blow. Now I got to go the other way, so I'm reversing this edge. There's already a bulb of percussion in here, an incipient bulb where it was struck off. I think that it was struck from this end when I was spalling. So there's an incipient bulb here. See if I can use that as a platform. Not too bad. Alright. I don't have any really thick spots anymore, so I can start hitting this with a billet. Yeah, the flakes aren't going anywhere because I didn't strengthen that platform enough, or I didn't develop that edge right. you can produce thin flakes that appear to be soft hammer with a hard hammer. This is a hard hammer. It's quartzite. This is the hardest I can get, other than using a Chert hammerstone. And there are Chert hammerstones. I do have one in my collection. Okay, a real one. Alright. So, yeah, let's start reducing this with antler now. Just knocking off the weak areas. I tend to go around the whole thing because it saves me time, so I don't have to keep picking it up, using it, putting it away. For each strike, I'm looking at the edge and saying, okay, how strong should it be everywhere for opportunistic strikes? Because that's what I like to do first when I'm first reducing. Just opportunistic stuff until I get down to where I need to reduce mass specifically to get it thinned down. Okay. I have to be swiping and I have to be swinging. That's the whole deal. That's what makes it different. And as I was reducing the Keokuk, I was thinking of a very interesting concept. I was thinking about the difficulty in explaining during a new technique. Because even though you've done it a bunch of times, it's like trying to explain something in a new language. And technologies or techniques may be able to be classified as you know, languages in terms of lithic reduction. Right? Various forms of lithic reduction can almost be considered different languages in lithic reduction. You have to learn another mindset, and some languages are more geared to, let's say, emotional explanations. Some are very technical. Same thing with flint knapping. Some techniques are very utilitarian. Some strategies are just enough to get the point triangular and sharpened, while others are more focused on thinning or beveling and that sort of thing, with specific techniques designed to address those goals. Now, the interesting thing would be to classify point types within language groups or within technologies, right, of knapping. That is already being done. That's an old, not new idea. They are trying to classify points according to technologies, or looking at the points, classifying them together, and then saying this is a technological group based on how they look or the morphology, and they assume that's just one specific technology, and it's probably different from the others that don't look like these points. But I think it's possible to have one technology produce different styles of points. It doesn't have to be one style only that can result from the technology. So I would be a little more flexible with it. I think this is raw stone. Although I still can't tell. All right. And yes, raw stone can be this brittle to break in half. All right, let's see. Of course, heat treat will break in half like that too. Yeah, large flakes require lots of speed. This would be a candidate for running a flake this way, but I'm afraid that it'll dive under that. If this is different consistency, the flake will dive and I'll ruin the whole piece. So I'm going to continue with this zigzag. But now I'm getting to the point where I need to focus on producing a flake in this direction. I don't know if I can get in there with the billet. And isolating that would be difficult without losing a lot of width. I am going to try isolating a little bit. On both sides. I am going to lose width. I'm setting up another platform here for this strike while I'm reducing this edge for a strike down in this direction, although this one here is better than this. All right, let's see. Yeah, nice. There is a little bit of an isolation there. So I'm going to try to hit that. There's opportunistic platforms here. They only need slight modification to bring them down. This one especially, to bring it down. All right, so hitting in the middle right now could snap it in half again. So I'm going to work on the ends. Get the ends thinned down first. So when the technique works, it works extremely well. I didn't thin down the end first on this side. I forgot to. Got carried away with this side. But let's see. I think it'll be all right. Just opportunistic flakes at this point. Need to take one here for sure, just to get this tip thinned down a little bit. Yeah, I'm not that great at hitting a platform properly. A prepared one. Let's see. Yeah, I probably should have hit it in this direction here instead of like this. I was thinking I was going to shoot it this way, so I was holding it that way. And it cut across the tip. If I had held it this way, why didn't I hold it that way? I'm trying to think. I think maybe it would be pulling too much and snap it up here. I'll just hold it more in a different way for the next situation that's similar to that. I wouldn't have been working with a billet in that situation if I was going to use indirect percussion. I would just use indirect percussion for the tip. All right, next segment.